Hi, everybody. Old guy here. Tom Wolfe was lately, these later years, a novelist. At least that's probably how most people today knew him, with The Bonfire of the Vanities and Man in Full, and, well, that's pretty much it. But he was first a journalist, sort of. He was one of the first modern practitioners of literary journalism, along with George Plimpton and Truman Capote, and of course the king of gonzo, Hunter S. Thompson. And, well, yeah, Mark Twain and his Innocents Abroad and other similar titles. Um, George Orwell. Okay, so yeah, it's been around a while, and in our modern conceit, of course, we think we invented it, so kudos to us.
Much superior.
Now, it's obvious that Woolf wanted to write novels, but really didn't have the talent for made up stuff, based on the more recent evidence. He did have the talent for making stories out of real stuff, like this one. Which, of course, is The Right Stuff, which is Woolf's best known and most successful book because who doesn't want to be an astronaut? Everyone, even you, wants to strap on a spacesuit.
Go where no man has gone before.
That is, until common sense prevails and we go back to the office.
Whew! That was close.
Imagine sitting atop a big Roman candle waiting for someone else to light it off, as Woolf puts it several times throughout this book. You're either courageous or insane.
I enjoy brief moments of lucidity.
And there is an even mixture of both among the first 7 astronauts, those chosen for NASA's Mercury program, which itself came about because of the hysteria over the Soviet Union's launching of the Sputnik satellite in 1957. When I was 3. Right-thinking people were horrified by a basketball-shaped piece of metal beeping in Russian overhead. Why, they can rain nukes down on our heads, and who wants to look up at a Soviet moon?
Start panicking.
So, NASA, Mercury, and the hasty effort to get our own boys up there circling around to glower at the Russians.
We're in space.
Thing is, we pretty much had a space program going before Sputnik beeped along. A very advanced one, actually. The X-15 program out of Edwards Air Force Base in California. A desolate piece of desert where it was okay to auger experimental aircraft into the ground, the only casualties being Gila monsters and scorpions.
Okay, I'm a liar. There isn't a Gila monster under there.
And the pilot, of course, and we had our share of tragic accidents, which is expected when you push essentially winged rockets into speeds and distances no one had reached before.
The X-1, to try and break the sound barrier.
That program, the X-Series, is actually the base, and you might say the focus of Woolf's book, even though it spends most of its time with the Mercury program.
Pigs in space.
It centers on Chuck Yeager, the first person to break the sound barrier, which seems like old hat to us today, but back then was quite the feat.
Some people say the sound barrier can't be broke.
Everyone thought that flying Mach 1 was like flying straight into a brick wall. Guaranteed to break your aircraft apart. When Yeager exceeded it, all kinds of possibilities opened, like a piloted aircraft that could launch from the ground, cruise into space, fly over Moscow and moon Khrushchev, and be back in time for lunch.
Viper 7901 Galactica, you are cleared for approach.
And we were working on just that when Sputnik showed up and the politicians panicked, and we just had to get up there too. So let's set someone on top of a Roman candle and light it and see what happens.
All right, team, that's it. We've got a job.
Imagine if cooler heads had prevailed, we'd all have our very own spaceship parked in the driveway right now.
George Jetson!
Wolf depicts the selection of these first astronauts who Eisenhower insisted had to be pilots because they had the right stuff. And what exactly is the right stuff? You know what it is. Not only the physical ability to whip a barely controlled rocket through excessive speeds and at altitudes, but to respond to unforeseen events like a blowout and a spin, and coolly, calmly bring the aircraft under control or get yourself to safety, as Yeager did when a 104 he was testing blew its controls, causing Yeager serious burns when he ejected. Just stood by the side of the road waiting for someone to pick him up.
Do you want to live forever?
Yeah, that's the stuff. And test pilots were the best examples of it, so that's who NASA was ordered to select for the newly designed astronaut position.
They were called test pilots.
The test pilots themselves falling all over themselves to join up because, man, look at this. Pilot a spacecraft? Put me there on top of that Roman candle, Chief.
Magic carpet.
Problem was, you didn't really need a pilot for the Mercury program. All you needed was someone to sit on top of the Roman candle and watch the Earth go by. Heck, a trained monkey could do that, and the first Mercury flight had a chimp for a pilot.
Smile.
Something that became a recurring joke among the test pilots still at Edwards, and which chapped the bums of the Mercury 7, so they insisted on a little bit of control over the capsule, and maybe even a window.
Window? There's no window.
But whether the Mercury boys could actually fly the capsule really wasn't the point. It was getting into space, and if the astronauts only did crossword puzzles throughout the flight, well, that's fine. It's immaterial. It was the last frontier, and the universe beckoned, and the stalwart people with the right stuff needed to lead the way. Especially when the Soviets beat us to the first manned space flight and orbit. Get our astronauts up there, now! And while we're at it, let's go to the moon.
You just keep thinking, Butch. That's what you're good at.
I get that. All of you who were there remember the excitement, the sense of mission. Heck, they used to wheel the television into the classroom and let us watch the launches during school. I distinctly remember watching John Glenn's launch from my second grade classroom. I was a member of the NASA Kids Club and had photographs signed by Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins and Buzz Aldrin.
You're that kid from the fan club.
Which would probably all be worth a fortune today, also like my first X-Men and my Captain America Avengers one, and my first Tales of Fantasy with Spider-Man, which my dad all threw away. You know, I even actually belonged to the WLS Batman Club. This is not only about how the space program got off the ground, but also the various stories of the various astronauts and their wives. John Glenn turns out to be somewhat of a tool with his fellow astronauts, but a loving and dedicated husband who's to his wife, who suffers a terrible speech impediment and simply did not want Lyndon Johnson coming into her house. I mean, would you?
What do you mean? No.
Wolfe published this in 1979 primarily because he was annoyed by Norman Mailer's Of a Fire on the Moon and wanted to one-up him. I think he succeeded. I think the movie did pretty well, too. So, if you don't have time for this, go watch that. And while I was in the Gonzos, I picked up Plimpton's Paper Lion. Which is the story of how he joined the Detroit Lions as the third-string quarterback. Yeah, a guy who never played football in his life gets a quarterback job. Obviously, this was a stunt. A journalist covering the age-old fantasy of some local schmo who gets pulled out of the stands to replace an injured player and bring about victory.
I'm here to play football for the Irish.
Seriously, that was the impetus behind this project, the dream of football glory by every man.
I've been ready for this my whole life.
How'd he do? Well, there is a reason it's called professional football and has a lot more to it than the flag football league you belong to at work or the pickup parking lot games you played in high school.
What does the yellow flag in the left pocket mean?
Even more than high school football, heck, college, it's rough.
It's bad for you, Troy.
Something Plimpton quickly found out. Oh no, not from the workouts and the training. Most reasonably in-shape people can handle those.
Because you're a football player.
It's the timing and the reflexes and the thinking and the intangible ability to play a crushing, grueling, downright murderous sport at a level where you can actually walk off the field under your own power when the game ends.
I did it! My leg, it broke off!
Call it the right stuff.
I see what you did there.
Old guy here. See you later.